The purpose of this campfire is to explore how financial and economic systems can support flourishing of people, places and planet by aligning with the interests of individuals, communities and the diverse environments that we depend on. Natural ecosystems thrive on dynamic flow of energy across a diverse web of life, just as human communities best flourish with flow of resources grounded in similar principles of balanced transactional reciprocity for the common good. However, in progressively more hierarchical and feudalistic societies, wealth has been concentrated away from the grassroots, usually taking with it power, freedom and resources. And we can see the long shadows of this in modern economies, with growing extremes and disparities of wealth and well-being. Now, most of the global wealth and vast financial assets are locked in trusts or sequestered capital and no longer serving communities in greatest need of those resources. This has occurred in parallel with the rise of marketing and manufactured hyper-consumerism across the 20th century and the growth of industries directly undermining human and environmental health with profit-driven pandemics, tobacco and ultra-processed foods, perhaps the most obvious impacting human health, particularly non-communicable diseases, and the impact of petrochemical industries on environmental degradation. But there are many others, all facilitated by financial systems which have flourished in a culture of greed is good, often at the expense of grassroots flourishing. But we have reached a point where there is fortunately general recognition that this is no longer sustainable and no longer in the interests of humanity or our environment. There are increasing calls to unlock stagnant, sequestered resources, not only to restore fairness, but also to restore damaged environments and communities and health at all scales. The move to environmental restoration and rewilding is being extended to financial systems through movements towards more compassionate finance and regenerative economics, which we're going to hear more about from our speakers today. As with our many previous discussions, this reflects the need for greater awareness of the interdependence of all systems, most of which depend on our financial systems to function, and the recurring theme of cultural change to achieve systems change, and of course, greater consideration of the commercial determinants of health on every scale. The will to change may be driven by necessity, social or financial pressure, or, we hope, an authentic desire for deeper change. But if actions are still driven by greed and merely redirected exploitation, we will not have achieved the shift in consciousness that is needed, again highlighting the importance of deep-seated shifts in values. We recently explored this in our paper on dispositional greed and corporate greed as major threats to planetary health, and how individual dispositional greed clusters and magnifies at scale to promote a culture of organisational greed, especially in sectors such as banking, insurance, real estate, and extractive industries, all likely to score higher on the dark triad characteristics of Machiavellianism, narcissism, and psychopathy compared to individuals and groups in healthcare, education, and civil service. The large-scale population trends for increasing narcissism and declining empathy for others and the environment do reveal that collective attitudes and personality traits can shift over time, offering hope that more evolved and compassionate approaches are possible. Increasing awareness is important for this, so it is promising to see rising awareness and acceptance of practices such as mindfulness, as this is associated with lower dispositional greed. Empathy can also be taught, and as with other determinants of health, these mindsets have early life origins and mirror cultural values and priorities. Early life interventions can therefore provide an important part of moral and social education. Mindful parenting, emphasising compassion and empathy, does associate with lower levels of greed among children and adolescents. This, of course, all builds on discussions from our previous campfire where we talked about the importance of emphasising intrinsic life goals of kindness, hope and love and empathy over purely extrinsic and materialistic goals, which also lead to greater life satisfaction and happiness and health of individuals and community. Again, we return to calls for new and kinder narratives that support and align the health of people, places and planet rather than undermine it. So these are some of the principles to consider as we hear from our colleagues working in economics, business and marketing about how we can achieve more compassionate, equitable, sustainable and mutually beneficial approaches to the financial lifeblood that we need to enact all this. Each speaker will talk for 5 minutes, and I don't want to detract from their time by reading their bios, so I urge you to read more about them at the link in the chat. And first, it's my pleasure to introduce Rebecca Henderson, a prominent economist from Harvard University, to share her perspectives on all of this. Thank you, Rebecca.